What is going on, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen? The ACMJS Gamer here. Today we're here to look at 3 videos from IGN covering Jedi Survivor. If you don't remember, I did a video last week or the week before where they came out and they said they were going to be doing coverage. And that was where we saw the 9 or 10 minute gameplay demo. And here it looks like we have some more gameplay to go through. We have combat stances which are explained, which we had gone over in article form, in word form, but we haven't actually seen any of this. Or we saw a few in the demo, but we haven't seen them explained, as we'll see in this video. We have lightsaber combat showcase, and then we have a puzzle room. So we're going to watch all 3 of these back to back rather than do 3 separate individual videos. And I guess the next video covering this, if it depends. Like, there's another video that they did detailing the different enemies. I try to balance what I want to be quote unquote spoiled, or I kind of don't want to be surprised, or I want to be surprised by the enemies that are going to be in the game, so I don't want to view too much, if that makes sense. And this is just going over some of the basic combat, so I don't think it'll be too bad.
I don't think anyone would argue the idea that a Jedi makes for a pretty badass playable video game protagonist.
True.
They've got a lightsaber, force powers, they're quick, and they can jump really high. All great innate attributes for an action game, but one challenge about having a Jedi main character...
Something I already saw is that it's the same button to grab as it was to, like, climb, which is LT, when he grappled to this wall here.
And they can jump really high.
That's very
all
interesting.
Great innate attributes for an action game, but one challenge about having a Jedi main character is that they're only really known to use lightsabers. That presents a bit of an issue, as most good action game heroes have multiple weapons to help keep combat fresh over the course of the game. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order found a solution to this problem by giving Cal 2 different lightsaber stances, each with their own combat focus and moveset. And with the sequel, Jedi Survivor, Respawn is looking to up the ante with a total of 5 different stances that Cal can use over the course of his journey. To find out more about each of these stances, I talked with Senior Design Director Jason DeHarris and Game Director Stig Asmussen, who walked me through the design philosophy behind each stance and their unique approaches to combat.
Interesting.
One of the big focuses throughout the development of Jedi Survivor has been this concept of Jedi 2.0, and how to take Cal from where he was in Jedi Fallen Order, a young and relatively inexperienced Padawan trying to find his place and identity, to where he is now in Jedi Survivor, a much more confident and capable Jedi Knight who is also 5 years wiser. Asmussen said that the team wanted this change reflected in Cal not just in the story, but through his combat as well. As a result, Cal is a much more capable fighter right from the start in Jedi Survivor, with 3 saber stances available right from the beginning of the game: single blade, double bladed, and dual blade.
We felt like it was important to give the player a greater arsenal right off the bat. We had 2 fully realized stances in the first game, and that was the single and that was the staff. And we had a stance where you had a twin blade, which was something that we wanted to fully realize in the first game, but we basically ran out of time, and it ended up becoming a special move.
I like
that move. It was a
that
really cool moment, but it was, not given the same amount of focus and execution. So that was like day 1. We're gonna finish our twin stance.
DeHarris said that the team really used the twin blade stance as the jumping off point, because they already knew the roles the single and double blade stances would play in combat. And so they wanted to start by trying to make the twin blades feel unique.
And that's where we started thinking, okay, let's make twin a little more technical. Still approachable, anybody can pick up and play, but there's a lot more, combat nuance.
Okay.
That combat nuance comes in several forms. For one, you're a bit of a glass cannon. You take more damage, but you attack faster and have a wider array of unique combos, some of which require you to pause for a beat before continuing the combo. In addition to that, Twin Blade Stance is the only one where you're able to dodge or guard cancel out of the startup animations of an attack. Other
Huh.
stances have you commit to your attacks very much like you would in a game like Dark Souls,
Interesting.
where once you press the attack button, you have to wait until your attack animation finishes before you can get out of the way. You can rely a little more on your reflexes and freely get out of the way when danger is incoming.
Okay.
In Twin, we kind of let you ride the line between, reckless and aggression, but you pay for it if you're making mistakes.
The single blade stance is the all-rounder stance of Jedi Survivor. It's got medium range and medium power, and a jack-of-all-trades approach to the skills that utilize it. It's relatively fast, so there's not the same amount of commitment to each attack compared to the slower stances. You can throw your lightsaber out for a mid-range attack, and its special ability is a strong thrusting attack that can be charged to deal heavy stamina damage to single enemies.
Okay.
In Fallen Order, the double-bladed stance is the go-to stance for crowd control. If there's a large group of weak B1 droids crowding an area, it's never a bad idea to bring out that double blade and start dancing your way through the crowd. It's largely focused on close range damage spread out all around Cal. The downside is that there's a lot of startup time to its attacks, making it a weapon that you really need to be careful with when putting it to use against faster enemies. There will be 2 brand new stances that you'll be able to wield in Jedi Survivor, and while Respawn wanted to keep a lot of the cards relating to these 2 stances close to their chest, we do know that one of them is called the cross.
So here's my question. In the lower left, we have the equipment, if you will, up for health from BD, which we had from the last game. If you look down, it looks like you can scan. I think maybe if you hold down, you can do like the binocular recon like we saw in the demo. But then you see the left and the right, and you see it looks like twin, and then you on the left, and then on the right it looks like the double blade. So my question is, how do you swap those? My question would be, is it going to be kind of like Assassin's Creed Origins, where you press the left thumbstick multiple times and they have a set number of stances that you can kind of select from? Or would it be that you hold down a button, like maybe you hold down the either of the D-pad sticks, and that will pop up a menu and you can choose which stance you want, like that? Or I don't know. It could be like what I'm trying to describe is if it's like a radial menu where you can select, okay, I want this stance on the left, this stance on the right, but if I want to change it, you have to go into a menu to do it. Otherwise, if it's not like that, I'm wondering how you choose what stance you want.
Guard stance and utilizes a hilted lightsaber much like the one that Kylo Ren uses, and the other one is called the blaster stance, which is a fighting style that incorporates both a lightsaber and a blaster. DeHarris described the crossguard stance as a high-risk stance that deals the most damage, but is also the slowest and has the least amount of range.
So that is one where we wanted the player to feel really powerful, but there's a huge risk, probably more than twin, I would say, to where you have to understand spacing, because with that stance, we don't artificially push you towards an enemy. It's kind of like a fighting game stance a little bit, so we wanted that stance to be a little more mastery curve there.
It's like using your
In regards
heavy
to the blaster
attack.
stance, the team wanted something with more range, but also thought that a Jedi using a blaster would be a cool opportunity from a story standpoint as well.
I know from a story standpoint, we thought it would be really something that reflects the journey that Cal's going through to do something that's unconventional, something that's usually frowned upon for a Jedi, and kind of putting in this circumstance where he's doing whatever it takes in the situation.
Can we see it?
That's something that I think through conversations we were able to really make that work in regards to combat. We wanted something that had more range. We wanted something that kind of had push and pull to it, where like the way the blaster is designed, it encourages you to use your saber in order to like replenish your ammunition on your gun. Like I said, it's almost this rubber band that we're encouraging the player to engage up close so that they can kind of make decisions when they're far away as well.
To be clear, this is still a melee combat game. You won't be sniping stormtroopers from a distance with the blaster stance.
It's not a shooter, obviously, right? It's like a melee gun, kind of, even though you're really shooting from long range, but there's a limit to it.
But notice how
We're
they
always
haven't shown any
feedback about
gameplay yet.
combat and kind of how we still want you to hit with the saber.
One of the most exciting aspects of these 5 stances is that they all come with their own skill tree. So each stance will have its own set of upgradable skills
Oh,
to help you further develop it.
Interesting.
Stances aren't the only thing that have their own skill tree either. There's a tree for force powers and one for survival skills that offer flat increases to your health, force meter, and
okay, hold on. So they just told us that we have 5, 6, 7, 8 different skill trees to keep up with? What the heck? Hold on, let me...
to your health, force meter, and
Hold on, that's not far back enough. Hold on.
there's a tree for force powers and to help you further develop it. Stances aren't the only thing that have their
Okay, so we have each... Let me run that back. Hold on.
You should hit with the saber.
One of the most exciting aspects of these 5 stances is that they all come with their own skill tree. So each stance will have its own set of upgradable skills to help you further develop it. Stances aren't the only thing that have their own skill tree either. There's a tree for force powers and one for survival skills that offer flat increases to your health, force meter, and more. It all amounts to a combat system that offers a ton of flexibility in how you want to build up your own version of Cal Kestis.
Okay, so 5 stances plus a... So each stance, as they just said, has a skill tree. So that's 5 skill trees, one for each stance. They have another skill tree specifically for force powers, and then they have another skill tree that is for survival. So that is 7 different skill trees that we have to keep up with. I'm wondering if this is a game they're intending for people to replay it through multiple times, because depending on how long the actual game story is, you may not be able to unlock every single skill on a first run, because that seems like a lot.
You can only equip 2 stances at a time, but you can change them at every meditation point and adjust your loadout for whatever the situation calls for.
Okay, so they just answered my question. You have... Okay, I don't know if I like that. They just said you can switch your stances at every meditation point. So you can't just use a menu to select which one. That's interesting. That's gonna be cause for a lot of replay, because if there are certain enemy type groups in an area ahead of you, but you don't know that, and you go and do it, you might die, go back to a meditation point, switch your stances, and then go try again. That's interesting.
For whatever the situation calls for. It's exciting stuff.
Well, let me go back.
Offers a ton of flexibility in how you want it. Stances aren't the only thing that have their own skill tree either. There's a tree for force powers and one for survival skills that offer flat increases to your health, force meter, and more. It all amounts to a combat system that offers a ton of flexibility in how you want to build up your own version of Cal Kestis. You can only equip 2 stances at a time, but you can change them at every meditation point and adjust your loadout for whatever the situation calls for. It's exciting stuff, and I'll go into more detail about it when my full preview for Star Wars Jedi Survivor comes out later this month. Thanks for watching, and for more IGN First coverage of Star Wars Jedi Survivor, make sure to check out our gameplay clip from Kobo, along with a breakdown of some of the new enemies that you'll be fighting. And for everything else, keep it here on IGN.
Huh. So yeah, I don't know that I like it. I almost would have rather it been more like a Ghost of Tsushima. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, if you haven't played the game, Ghost of Tsushima, there is a button that you can press. It's R2 on the controller, and then you use the up, I think it's the up arrow or the D-pad, to choose which stance you want to fight in, but all of them are available at the same time. It's very interesting that here, essentially, when you go to a bonfire, that's the only time when you can switch your stances. And so I'm wondering how many people are going to basically ignore ignore the rest because of that. Because most people, unless the game forces them to, I'm wondering if most people are gonna do like single blade most of the time and like the double blade, or if they're gonna do single and the dual, which they were also calling twin. Or I mean, they might go single or double and then the blaster stance. But like I said, they're gonna essentially be extending their internal time because number one, like I said earlier, you don't know what's ahead of you. So if the game basically forces you to use a specific stance, you'll have to go back to the meditation part, and you'll have to choose a stance. But also at the same time, they did say that there's fast travel. So if you're at a difficult part and you need to get out of there or you die, you can fast travel, which is a bit of a bonus. But that's very interesting because as we saw in the trailer, I don't know if the game is going to limit you to specific sections. And what I mean by that is if you're going through a point in the game and you don't have, for example, the blaster stance equipped, I'm wondering if you can still use like the grappling hook mechanic or if that's only for the blaster stance. Because if that is the case, then in order to get access to a bunch of parts of the game, a lot of people are only going to have or use one of the stance plus the blaster, if that makes sense. So that's very interesting. That's a lot of mechanics that we just got introduced to. We're going to move on to the next video, which is lightsaber combat. This was posted yesterday, and the video that we saw, I think, was posted 2 days ago. I will be right back. You won't miss anything in the video. It'll be a quick jump cut, but I'll be right back. Alright, we are back. So now we're going to take a look at the gameplay lightsaber combat showcase. Is this the same guy? I don't know.
As part of our continuing
Yep.
coverage of Star Wars Jedi Survivor for IGN First, we wanted to showcase the straight combat gameplay that we use for our lightsaber stance explainer, so you can enjoy all the action and scout trooper dismemberment without my voice accompanying it.
Oh.
Please note that this is a test environment, not a level pulled from the actual game, and a showcase of just 4 of the 5 stances. With all that said, enjoy, and keep it here on IGN for more Star Wars Jedi Survivor all throughout February.
Okay, so this is just the previous video, but without the commentary. Interesting. I like the animations so far, but we've already seen all of this. So, with that being said, because we've seen all of this, and we got all the information we need, go ahead and we'll move on to the next one, which is first look at Jedi Chambers puzzle rooms. Don't know if this is an actual level for the game, or if this is just an example. Probably is really part of the game. You can see down here in the lower left, it looks like they have the single blade and the crossguard equipped. So this will be interesting. Oh, it's so loud.
Ryan McCaffrey here with IGN. I'm at Respawn Entertainment. We are checking out Star Wars Jedi Survivor all month long as part of IGN First. Jeff, your design director for Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
I like
What
this so
are we checking out
far.
here? There's a lot going on in this game. We've played a lot of it. We'll be talking about it all month long. What particular section are we looking at here?
We're looking at a Jedi meditation chamber, which is one of the many types of side content that you can find while exploring one of our planets on Jedi Survivor.
Let's dive in here and take a look at it. So
Looks like Jedi Temple
there's
almost.
a clear endpoint, and we're not going to reveal and ruin everything, but you're going to need to use your force powers, such as on this switch here, which moves this little rolling track along. And,
Interesting.
We're gonna have to stack some knowledge together, right? to
That's
figure
right.
this out?
Yeah, there's multiple things you can interact with the Force in here. There's these batteries that you can plug in, and they create these bridges that allow you to traverse large expanses of this area.
Interesting.
Is it fair to say this is a puzzle room of sorts.
Yeah, it's kind of a change of pace of gameplay for people that want to dive deep into puzzle-type gameplay. We've got some puzzles along the main path as well,
Okay.
but for the people who really like puzzles and want to get some more of it, we've got meditation chambers for them.
And are these all optional, or is this we're looking at the first one in the game?
This is actually the first optional one. There is
Okay.
one on Critical Path,
Got it.
but this one you can stumble upon in one of our regions on our main planet, Kobo.
How do
So first of all, you can I mean, art-wise, this is a very cool, distinct-looking place. How would you describe the artistic vibe here within the context of the Star Wars universe?
Well, these are ancient chambers. They've been around on this planet for hundreds of years, and it is a location where Jedi of the past would train and test their Jedi abilities.
All right, so we're going over here to this other side.
Another thing here is we have Force echoes and scans where Cal can learn information about Jedi of the past who tried these challenges, maybe
Yeah.
failed, maybe succeeded. Just characters in the past who were trying to hone their Jedi skills just like you are.
So this one isn't particularly platformy, but you know, platforming is definitely a big element in Jedi Fallen Order. I suspect will probably be the case again in certain sections of Jedi Survivor. Is it fair to say that the different Jedi chambers will test different skills as you solve their puzzles?
Yeah, we have all of our types of gameplay mixed in within the puzzles, although puzzling's the primary aspect of these chambers. Cal's going to have to use his traverse abilities as well as his force abilities, maybe even combat abilities, to complete these different chambers.
Now, it's fair to ask, are the rewards worth it for players?
Data
Because you know, for
disk.
some people, if you just get you know, a new piece of outfit for Cal, like maybe I don't
poncho,
want to
for
bother
example.
with the chamber. Yeah, but sometimes maybe the reward in certain things could be a skill point or something, you know, really tangible to your character. So, would you say that the Jedi chambers have pretty solid rewards in them?
Absolutely, yeah. One of our new types of rewards this game are called perks. So perks are abilities that you can slot in to the perk system, and they can actually change your gameplay, customize Cal's gameplay, mostly in combat. So we really wanted to focus on really tangible rewards this time for exploration. So yes, we're going to have lots of a deep cosmetic system to customize Cal, but also we want to be able to customize the gameplay style.
So that's another bit of information that we just found out. So there are perks, and there's some sort of perk system, as you saw there, dexterity. That sounds a really roundabout way to me of saying, well, they already have skill points that you can unlock. But I don't know, because they didn't really explain the rest of the perk system there. Because that sounds like something to me that was and is in KOTOR, where you can literally put points into a system. Because in the previous game, we didn't have there was a skill tree, but there wasn't... How do I put this? There's two different types of skill tree. There's a skill tree that you're awarded certain points through experience, and then you can put those points into skills. That's one. That's more common. The other skill tree is where the other skill tree is where you have points and you have a specific set of skills, and you can put your points into those skills. So what I'm saying is there's a difference between, for example, the older RPGs like KOTOR, where you have a skill set and then you physically put the points where you want them, to Jedi Fallen Order, where there are things that may be 2 or 3 points, but it's a specific skill that you unlock that you have that is a gameplay mechanic, if you will, that you can use. For example, Cal's force abilities or force powers is one form of a skill tree. But then if you go and do something like KOTOR, where you have something that changes the gameplay mechanics, not necessarily the gameplay itself, if that makes sense. So, for example, there are points that you could put in Cal where he gets a better meditation, or not meditation, earns more life from BD, or he learns a new move, which is a gameplay mechanic, compared to putting points into something like dexterity that bumps up the numbers but isn't necessarily a mechanic that you can physically see, if that makes sense. So this will definitely be interesting. I did not mean for this to be a 30 almost minute video.
That was a quick look at the Jedi chambers in Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Don't miss our 9-minute gameplay video that we kicked off our IGN for to I
already did that. So that will be it. We saw technically 3, but we saw 2 videos on Jedi Survivor coming out in April, I believe. It was originally supposed to come out in March, and then it got pushed back. We just learned a ton of new information about there's a perk system. We already knew about the 5 stances, but we got to see them in action. We know that there's a skill system, or skill points, or abilities, or whatever you want to call it, for each of the 5 stances, along with a separate tree for force powers and survival. And we know that stances can only be switched at different points using the meditation system. So, with that being said, thank you guys for watching. If there is more news that I think is worthy to cover, or more videos to cover throughout the month, I will let you guys know via video. So, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.